Before we get into our topic of the week, just a quick announcement that event signups end on September 1st. And so Fitme weekend event signups end September 1st. If you've been waiting, it is go time for my procrastinators. It is time to sign up. And so if you are not sure about attending, or if you just need some help with some details, reach out to your coach. Let's have a conversation about it, so that we can find out how we can get you there, because this is going to be a really special weekend. And so it ends on September 1st, signups. Otherwise, announcements, I don't think there's any other announcements. Molly, am I missing any announcements? I don't think so. I don't think so either. What's up, Nicole? Welcome. We are going to talk tonight. Our topic of the week is how to use the scale, measurements, and pictures in your progress journey, or when to use them and how to use them. This is a topic we return to every couple of months because it's something we all need reminders about. But you might learn something completely new on this call about how to utilize these tools. Now, first off, the thing that I'm going to say is, do you need to use these tools at all? Do you need to use the scale? Do you need to use measurements? Do you need to use pictures? The answer is maybe. It depends on you. It depends on if your goal is related to those things. So one of the things that we help you do as your coaching team is not to make things harder, but to sometimes clarify. So we can be like, I want to be healthier. Like, what does that mean? Sometimes we have to get very specific. Well, what does healthier mean? Okay, I want to be stronger. What does that mean? I want to look better in my clothes. What does that mean? And so we try to help get specific about what it is that you're working towards. And if one of the things that you're working towards is a body composition goal, like I want to fit in my clothes better, I want to hit a milestone on the scale because my doctor is telling me that I need to, or I want to do it because I know that this will help me for a number of reasons, then we need to be able to utilize these particular tools correctly so that they're helpful. Because just like any tool, and you guys have heard me say this before, like you could take a hammer, you could hammer a nail, or you could take that hammer and you could throw it through a window, and it's the same exact tool smashing things, but one is you're using it correctly and one you're not. And so I like to think about these tools kind of like that, particularly the scale and pictures, which are ones that we can like royally screw up. So let's knock out the easy one. If your goal is body composition change, I want to fit in my clothes better, I want to feel like I'm getting more muscle and have less stored body fat, measurements is an excellent way to gauge if your body is changing. And it's a way that you don't have to use the scale, because numbers of the measurements will tell you things. It will tell you if your waist size is changing. It will tell you if your hips are changing. And for females in particular, we store fat. And so let me say this. When you do your measurements, because I'm going to describe exactly how to do it, you're going to want to get a soft tape measure. You're going to do one measurement across your chest. So you're going to go usually right through the nipples is where you want to get the widest part of your chest. And you don't want to pull the measuring tape so tight that it's creating like a dent. You just kind of want to take all the tension out and have it laying on top. So that's how you're going to measure your chest. Some women carry a lot of stored body fat in their upper back. So this is like a genetic thing. Some people carry in their back, some people carry in their bellies, some people carry in their hips and legs. And so particularly when you're working on body composition changes, measuring your chest can be a great way of seeing, like, is your body losing stored body fat? We also obviously carry weight in our chest. Most women do. And I was just chatting with someone. I was doing her 6-month check-in last week, and she's lost 40 pounds. And she goes, I have to buy all new bras because my chest is a completely different size now. I've started losing off my chest, and I'm like, well, that's where we lose eventually. And so the first measurement, if you're going to use a tape measure, is right across the nipple line, again, at your chest. The second one for waist is going to be at the smallest part of your waist. Usually that is right above the belly button is typically where I do a waist measurement. And again, same thing. You don't want to pull that tape measure super duper tight so that it creates a crease. You just want to lay it across and do it there. And again, genetically, some women carry weight in their middle, and some don't. But still, this is a place that you're going to see change because it's going to capture that middle. And especially when you're working on losing weight for a health goal and you like the scale really messes with me, this is a great place to measure the change, is your waistline. And then hips, what I like to do is have you stand together with your feet next to each other. So feet are touching. And then you are going to go around sort of like the middle of your butt. So you're going to get the widest part of your hips and butt. And that's going to be your hip measurement. So that's kind of how you would do that. And how periodically should you do measurements? I would say no closer than 1 month apart. If you're in a season where you're really proactively working on seeing some of those body composition changes, you're really tuned up on your food, you're working out consistently, then you could take those measurements every 4 weeks. If you're going for a little less aggressive change, you could probably back it out to every 6 or 8 weeks and see how it's going. But that is how you use measurements. To do these correctly, both any of these tools, you should do them at the same time each time you do it. So for example, right when you wake up in the morning is a great time to do measurements, scale, pictures. And for women who are cycling, you're probably going to want to do it at the same time of the month. If you're going to get an accurate, are you changing, then you're going to need to do it at the same time of the month, probably. And so just that is how you're going to utilize tape measure as a tool if you want to measure and see, are you changing? Next is pictures. We'll talk pictures because again, I think this is another thing that gives us options other than the scale. Pictures are a great way, especially with your coach, that you can see, am I changing? Here's the deal with pictures. Same lighting, same time of day, same clothes. All of those pictures that annoy us on Instagram and Facebook that look like hugely different. You're like, how the heck did you lose all that weight in 2 weeks? They're usually manipulating the lighting, the clothing, all of that to create a look. So if you really want to use pictures to see if you're changing, then you're going to want to take a picture on purpose in a outfit that you're like, this shows my body in a way that I can see if I'm changing. And then here's the thing. We don't want you to criticize yourself when you're taking these pictures. And it's easier said than done. It's me telling you, hey, let's not criticize ourselves. But I want you to know that taking those pictures is, again, using a tool to help you see if you're changing the way you want. It's not meant to be an opportunity for you to bash yourself. But if you struggle with this, which is completely okay, I think that probably 90% of the people who start with Fitme and take starting pictures have something really not nice to say about themselves. So it's not like it's the end of the world. I want you to communicate that with your coach. If you are feeling all the feels about pictures that you're taking to measure and you want to talk about it, then talk about it with your coach and let your coach help you reframe that. Because again, it's only helpful if it's helpful. If you're using pictures to beat yourself up and to bring yourself down, then it's not a helpful tool. However, pictures can be a great way, especially if you're like, I'm not a scale person, to see if your body is changing. And a coach can help you do that. So they are going to look at your body. And so when we actually have you do your getting started pictures with Fitme, we're not just looking at where you store body fat. We're looking at the whole body. We want to see where your muscles are. We want to kind of see what your body looks like, what your posture looks like, your face, your skin, all of it. It's a full picture. We're not just zeroed in on the line that you're zeroed in on that one spot. And so if you're going to use pictures, probably again, unless you are I don't know. I think monthly is the closest that I would do pictures for us. And again, like I think that same time of day, same outfit, same lighting, same time of the month, if you want to see if you are changing, and use those with your coach to have a conversation and let your coach show you. Oftentimes when I'm looking at someone's pictures, I'm like, hey, do you see this? And they did not see it. And so give your coach the opportunity to look at them before you start getting all sorts of feels about it. So we talked how to use measurements. We talked about how to use pictures. Last but not least is the scale. So the scale is not a tool for everybody. However, when weight loss is a part of your goals, and for a lot of people it is, using the scale can be helpful to see if what you're doing is creating the change that you want. So can you have body composition change without the scale moving? Let's first clear that piece up, because I know that's a common question. The answer is yes. So you can. So fat and muscle weigh exactly the same. So muscle does not weigh more than fat. That's like some weird myth. 1 pound of muscle, 1 pound of fat. They both weigh a pound. The difference is that a pound of muscle might be this size and a pound of fat might be this size because the volume is different. So if you are working out hard, like you're lifting, and you are also eating well, like you're eating your Fitme plates, you're paying attention to your portion sizes, it is a very, very possible that you could both build muscle and lose fat. And so the scale might not change sometimes, but your body composition could change. And you would see that with the scale, or excuse me, with measurements and with pictures, because your size will change. So I know this has happened to people where they're like, I don't understand. The scale says the same, but my clothes fit differently. I had to buy new pants. That is what's happening. You are actually smaller. You've put on muscle and you've lost stored body fat. You are now healthier and fitter because your body has more muscle and less stored body fat. And you're seeing the size change reflect that. And so that's what's happening. So yes, that is not a myth. You can see the scale stay the same and also have changes happening. That's not just made up in your head. Now, when someone has more than probably 10 pounds to lose, at some point, the scale should be going down if that's your goal. Because particularly for women, we're not putting on 5, 10, 15, 20 pounds of muscle, you know? So at a certain point, you're going to start seeing the scale go down. But here's how you use the scale. And this is what I want us to kind of like walk away from this with a really clear understanding of how to use the scale. The scale on a day-to-day basis, like today I weigh this, tomorrow I weigh this, does not tell us a whole lot, because our weight fluctuates for a variety of different reasons during the week and the month. So first off, your digestion. If you eat a big old dinner, tomorrow you're going to weigh more than if you ate a little dinner just in the morning when you get on the scale. So digestion impacts what the scale says. Water retention impacts what the scale says. So if you are retaining water, it might weigh more. If you are not retaining water, you might weigh less. So those are sort of like natural fluctuations in the scale. You might also have a fluctuation due to your hormones. So what time of the month it is, if you're cycling, then that's going to impact the scale for some of the reasons I just said, like water retention, also soreness. And so muscle soreness can actually impact the scale, because when our muscles are sore, we actually retain more water because our body is healing our sore muscles. Inflammation can be another reason why the scale might fluctuate. So if you have had a like little sugar and alcohol bender, you might not have put on any actual poundage, but the scale might be up a couple pounds, both for water retention and potentially inflammation, depending on your body. So because there are a whole bunch of reasons why our body weight might fluctuate, the way to use the scale is to look at a trend over time. So if you're like, I want to see, is my body weight changing? The way that you would actually see that is to get on the scale consistently, same time of day, every day, and then look at it over the course of a month. or 2 months or 3 months. If you are losing weight, it would be trending down. So it could say like 190, 194, 191, 189, 192. That could be in a given week, but then next week, maybe everything is one step lower. So now you're 193, 188, 191, 189. And then you can see that over time, that fluctuation is trending down. And that's why I wanted to share that first, because sometimes if we get on the scale and it's 189, and then the next day we get on and it's 194, you're like, I just screwed up. Everything is awful. I just gained 4 pounds overnight. Like, everything is bad. Fitme plates are terrible. Walking sucks. Water's terrible. Obviously this isn't working. I quit because I just put on 4 pounds overnight. And we can get in our own heads, or we could just say like, hey, this is not the number I wanted to see. I thought I should be further along by now. Screw this. Like, this is not changing fast enough. And then that headspace messes with our consistency. And then we don't do the things that actually lead to the change we want because we're annoyed with the number on the scale. But if we can understand the scale for what it is, that it's going to have a natural fluctuation, it is going to. And what you want to see if you are focused on weight loss is that downward trend over time. Then when you get on, you could be like, what did I do yesterday? Okay, yep, I'm pretty sore. That would explain it. Or didn't drink any water. That would explain why I'm up a couple of pounds. And so like, we don't have to understand always why the scale fluctuates. Our bodies are pretty complex. But just let yourself use it as a data point. Let yourself use it like that. And if you can, and not let it get in the way, it can be a helpful tool. Because if your goal is weight loss and you are not trending down for a couple of weeks in a row, your coach will help you dial in your portion sizes. We can help you figure out what is it that needs to happen here. Do we need to start walking more? What do we need to do here? Like, are we having a little bit too many treats? What's going on so that it's not trending down, and we can help you figure that out. And so that's why it can be an effective tool. Now, the last thing that I will say about the scale is it is 100% okay to be cool with doing it like I described, and then one day be like, I'm done with you for a little while. Most of the people that I know who are at a healthy body weight, who've achieved it and lost a lot of weight over time, can use the scale in seasons, and then other seasons be like, I don't really need you right now. I don't want it and I don't need it. And that's completely okay. And we want you to know that too. Like, you get to be the one that decides, like, I'm in a season where this is a helpful tool. And you know what? I'm not going to be worried about this right now. I don't need to get on here every day. And so that's completely okay too. But the way that the scale does not work, other than just beating ourselves up because we look at the number and then we mess with our consistency, is if you get on randomly, it is not telling you anything. And that's my least favorite thing to hear from a client who doesn't use the scale as a tool, that they got on the scale randomly. Because they're like, I got on the scale today. And I'm like, you haven't been on it in 6 weeks. And they're like, it said this. And I'm like, I actually have no idea how much you weigh. I have no idea, unless you want to get on that scale every day for the next 7 days. Then I'll have an idea how much you weigh. And so that is one of we all do it. I'm not saying it's just, it's just when we're on a journey. I can't tell you that I've done that so many times. So I'm like, I'm just going to see, and just to screw myself up. So again, like, utilizing it as a tool disconnects you from like the emotional attachment to what it says every day. Pass that number on. Don't think about it. Do the thing. Let your coach help you. And if you're like, it's not helping me, then you've got other tools like measurements and pictures to help you. I think that covers it. I really wanted to go over how to use each of these tools. And that way you have the knowledge, they're in your tool belt, and you can be like, this is what I'm going to use right now, and this is what I'm not going to use, and this is what this means. So I guess I want to use the rest of the time to kind of open it up for conversation and questions. If there are any.
I don't have any questions, but I can't use the scale as a reference because I fluctuate so much. I can fluctuate between, 3 and 10 pounds just by what I eat because my body doesn't like something. So I have to use measurements and pictures as opposed to the scale. That doesn't stop me from getting on the scale, but I can't use it as a reference point.
Especially if it messes with you, because you do have big fluctuations, and that's
huge fluctuations day to day.
Now, over time, the rule would still apply to you, Julie, which would be that if you get on at the same time every day, like say you got on every morning at the same time, over the course of time, if your weight was changing, you would still see a trend. So it would still apply to you, but it might be just too much of a head game because of the big fluctuations to even use it as a tool. So I'm glad you're like aware of what's working for you and using measurements and pictures instead.
Yeah, I prefer that. And my clothes fit better. And so I know what I'm doing is working. It's better for me to stay away from the scale.
Great. That's great. I also think most people, especially depending on when you grow up, we have number problems. We have like numbers on the scale that are particularly like triggering for us, or like that we think that we should be, or that like some BMI chart said. And so that can be problematic too. Any other thoughts or questions?
I think like a good, check-in, if you will, is if you're using the scale or whatever tool you're using and it messes with your consistency. If it messes with your consistency, then it's probably not the right time and place for you to use it. So I think like asking yourself that, it can be really detrimental to use it in some seasons, whether it's measurements, whatever it may be, So I think like if you find yourself reacting negatively to it and like having the F it attitude or whatever, I know that's time for me to put it away, because it's not helping me. And I know like how to be healthy and I know how to further my journey, but sometimes I like to, mess it up a little bit. So I think that if it's messing with me, it needs to be put away.
If I could disappear the scale from the planet, I would. Like if I just had like magic dust and be like, poof, gone. I think it does more harm than good. However, as a tool, we can use it correctly. And I want you guys and everyone in Fitme to know how to. But if it messes with you, does not have to be your thing. And we don't emphasize it in Fitme for exactly that reason. Because if we focus on that, if we focus on those numbers, like and prioritize, like did I lose an inch off my waist? Did the scale go down? And that's our focus, then we're focusing on the wrong things. We're not focusing on the things that matter, which are the things that we're doing every day. How are we taking care of ourselves? How are we fueling ourselves? How are we nurturing our body? How are we making ourselves stronger, fitter, healthier, able to do the things we want to do? And so those are the focus. However, it would be unrealistic for us to not say that changes in measurements and changes in the scale are an important part of a lot of people's goals, both for health reasons, for aesthetic reasons, like how you look and feel, and also for joints, like which I think would put in the health category. But so we can't ignore it completely. We're just not making it the number one focus. Cool, guys. Well, I think really from a target standpoint for the week, if you are wanting to see body composition changes, like you are actively saying like, this is my goal, then talk to your coach about how you are measuring those changes. If body composition is your goal, so what I'm saying is number on the scale or, the size, like measurements, right? Body composition, like I'm getting muscle and I'm losing stored body fat, which you could see in pictures, doesn't necessarily mean we're small or big or anything like that. I'm just saying for our individual bodies, if that is your goal, then talk to your coach about how you are measuring it. Are you able to see if what you are doing is working, yes or no? And then that way you guys can make adjustments accordingly. And if you are in a season where you're not using all those, that's okay too. You can talk about that. Hey, the target for the week is scale, measurements, and pictures. I'm not using those this season. I'm focused on this. I don't need those tools right now. And that's completely a-okay. Cool, guys. Well, I love this topic. If you think of other questions related to anything we talked about, BMI, scale fluctuations, measurements, if you would like, if you want some additional resources and help, just ask. Shoot me a message. We'll put it in the Facebook group. We'll blast it out on the app. Like, if you think of stuff later, just give us a follow-up and we will answer it for you. And it'll probably be a question other people have. So we'll just answer it for everyone.
Hey, Christy.
Yeah.
Before you go, can you tell them about Georgia and the scale?
Yeah. So I've been using the scale for me as a tool, and she sees me get on the scale. And when I get on the scale, I tell her that it tells me that I'm beautiful. And so then she wants to get on the scale because she's 3. And so she wants to do it too. And so she pushes the button and she gets on. And now she's completely trained that I say, what does it say? And she goes, I'm beautiful. And I made like a real Instagram video where she says that. And that's what she thinks the scale tells us, which I love. So maybe we could all do that.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm going to start doing that.
Yeah.
Every time. I'm beautiful.
And sometimes I tell her that I'm like, the scale said that you're smart, or the scale said you're funny, or, like I just tell her it says different stuff. But look on my Instagram if you want to see that video, because she's so cute. But it's a really good thing to practice, especially if you're trying to reprogram your mind around it and using a tool, and you're taking good care of yourself every day, and then getting on there and being like, I am a badass. I'm awesome. I am strong. I am doing the thing. I am like a capable, amazing woman, and just keep telling yourself that till you believe it. Sweet, guys. Well, have a fantastic week. Again, if you need anything, just reach out. Thanks for being here, and I will talk to you guys next week. Bye.